Caleb Rourke heard the child before he saw her. Bare feet slapped against the dry dirt road, uneven and desperate, the sound of someone running not towards safety, but away from something worse. When she burst through the open ranch gate, she stumbled, caught herself on the wooden post, and nearly collapsed. She was small, too small to be running alone. Dust clung to her dark hair. Her knees were scraped raw, and blood streaked the bottoms of her feet. Caleb straightened slowly from the fence he was mending. He was a big man, broad-shouldered, sunburned, the kind of man the land itself seemed to respect. He hadn't spoken to another soul in nearly a year. Silence had become easier than remembering why he used to talk. The girl looked up at him with eyes far older than her face. "Mister," she said, her voice shaking but unbroken, "they'll hurt her tonight." Caleb didn't move. He didn't rush forward. Years on the frontier had taught him that fear needed space before it could breathe. "Who?" he asked quietly. "My papa," she whispered. "He hurts my mama when it gets dark. She's sick this time. She won't wake up right." The words landed heavy. Caleb knelt, lowering himself to her level. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lily Mae Carter." "I'm 8. 8! And already carrying the weight of the world. Where's your mama?" "At home. On the floor. She told me to run. She said you were the only one who might help." Caleb swallowed. He knew that kind of choice. The kind where a woman sends her child running because she has nothing left to give except hope. "Can you show me?" he asked. Lily nodded hard. "I counted the steps so I wouldn't stop. I didn't finish counting." That hit him harder than anything else. Caleb stood and reached for his horse. The animal sensed the urgency and stamped once, ready. Caleb lifted Lily up without thinking, settling her in front of him. She stiffened at first. Instinct. But when his hands didn't hurt, she leaned back against his chest. "Hold on," he said. They rode fast. The Carter house sat just beyond the cotton fields. A neat porch, swept clean, pretending at peace. Inside, the lie fell apart. Lily pushed the door open and ran ahead. "Mama." Caleb followed and stopped. Martha Carter lay on the kitchen floor, her face swollen, one arm bent wrong, her breathing shallow and uneven. Bruises bloomed across her skin like storms that had already passed. Caleb knelt immediately. "Martha," he said gently, "I'm Caleb. Your daughter found me." Her eyes fluttered open. Fear flashed, then relief so sharp it nearly broke him. "You came," she whispered. "I did." Outside, the sun dipped low. Caleb knew, with a certainty that settled into his bones, that this night would change everything. He also knew something else. Silence had cost him enough already. And this time, he would not look away. Martha Carter did not sleep that night. Neither did Caleb Rourke. The cabin smelled of hot iron and antiseptic herbs. Caleb had splinted Martha's arm with careful hands. The same hands that once calmed wild horses but had forgotten how to comfort people. Lily sat cross-legged on the floor beside the bed, counting her mother's breaths under her breath like a prayer she had invented herself. "In out? In out." Caleb heard it from the doorway. "How many now?" he asked softly. 23, Lily said. "That's good. When it's under 30, Mama wakes up." Caleb's jaw tightened. Martha stirred near dawn. Her eyes opened slow, unfocused, then fixed on the ceiling beams like she was checking if she was still alive. "You're safe?" Caleb said before she could speak. "You and Lily. You're safe here." Martha swallowed. "He'll come." Caleb nodded once. "I know." She turned her head toward him. "You don't know Thomas Carter." "I know his kind," Caleb replied. Thomas Carter didn't shout. Men like him never did. He owned the grain mill, the feed contracts, the debts. He smiled in church and prayed loud enough for everyone to hear. He hit quiet, efficient, like punishment, not rage. By mid-morning, the town knew. They always did. The first visitor came just after breakfast. Sheriff Nolan stood at the gate, hat in hand, eyes already apologizing. "Morning, Caleb," he said. "Heard you got company." "I do." "Thomas says his wife wandered off. Claims she's not right in the head. Wants her brought home." Caleb didn't move aside. "She's injured," he said. "Bad." Sheriff Nolan shifted. "Thomas says she fell." "Then Thomas lies." Silence stretched between them. Caleb, the sheriff said carefully, you know how this looks. An unmarried man, another man's wife under his roof. She asked for help. Nolan sighed. I ain't saying you're wrong. I'm saying the town won't see it that way. Then the town can learn. The sheriff glanced past Caleb, where Lily peeked from behind the doorframe, her small hand gripping the wood like it might float away. She a witness? Nolan asked quietly. She's a survivor, Caleb said. That afternoon, Thomas Carter arrived himself. He didn't bring anger. He brought smiles. Caleb, Thomas said warmly from the other side of the fence. We're neighbors. No need for trouble. You broke her arm, Caleb replied. Thomas chuckled. Accidents happen. Martha's clumsy. Always has been. Martha appeared behind Caleb, pale but standing. I'm not clumsy, she said. Thomas's smile froze for half a second, just long enough. There you are, sweetheart, he said gently. Come home. You're embarrassing yourself. Lily stepped forward before anyone could stop her. She told me to run, Lily said. Because you hurt her. The air went still. Thomas looked down at his daughter, like she was a stranger. You don't know what you're saying. I counted, Lily said. I always count. Caleb felt something ancient and dangerous rise in his chest. Leave, Caleb told Thomas. Now. Thomas's smile returned, thin as wire. This isn't over. No, Caleb agreed. It isn't. As Thomas rode away, Martha's knees buckled. Caleb caught her. They won't believe me, she whispered. Caleb looked down at Lily, then back at Martha. They will, he said, because this time you won't be standing alone. And somewhere deep inside him, the silence finally broke. By the third day, the town had decided, just not out loud. Caleb Rourke felt it everywhere. In the way conversations stopped when he passed. In the way eyes slid away, then back again, measuring. Copper Ridge had always been a place where people minded their business, especially when business belonged to powerful men. And Thomas Carter was powerful. Martha sat at Caleb's kitchen table, her injured arm bound tight against her chest. Lily sat beside her, drawing lines in the dust with a stick she had brought inside without thinking. She stopped counting now. That scared Martha more than when she did. They're choosing him, Martha said quietly. Caleb poured coffee into chipped cups. They're choosing comfort. Same thing. That afternoon, the preacher came. Reverend Holt removed his hat before stepping inside, his eyes already heavy with judgment disguised as concern. Martha, he said softly, your husband is worried, sick. Martha laughed once, short, bitter. He should be. The Reverend cleared his throat. A marriage is sacred, whatever troubles you're having. He broke my arm, she said plainly. The Reverend paused. The Lord calls us to forgiveness. Caleb set the coffee down harder than necessary. The Lord also calls us to truth. Silence again. Reverend Holt looked at Lily. Child, you shouldn't be here for adult matters. Lily looked up, calm and steady. I've always been here. That night, a stone shattered one of Caleb's windows. No note, no warning, just a message. Martha flinched at the sound. Lily didn't cry. She just climbed into her mother's lap and pressed her ear against Martha's chest. You're still breathing, Lily whispered. Caleb stood in the doorway, staring out into the dark. He knew what was coming. The next morning, Sheriff Nolan returned with papers. Thomas filed, he said quietly. Says you're keeping his wife and child unlawfully. Judge's hearing is set for Friday. Martha's hand shook. He'll lie. I know, Nolan said, but lies carry weight when the town wants to believe them. Caleb folded the paper once. Then we tell the truth louder. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. Mrs. Evelyn Price knocked on the door. She was old, bent, known for seeing everything and saying nothing. I brought stew, she said, and I heard things. Through the wall, years ago. Martha's breath caught. I didn't speak, Mrs. Price continued, shame heavy in her voice. I told myself it wasn't my place, but I was wrong. She looked at Lily. I'll speak now. Then another woman came. Then another. Quiet confessions. half-whispered truths, stories that sounded different alone, but together formed a pattern no one could ignore. That night, Martha opened a small cloth bundle she had hidden for years. A notebook, dates, bruises, words written in pain and pencil. "I kept it so I wouldn't forget," she said, "so I wouldn't think I imagined it." Caleb looked at the pages, his chest tightening. "This isn't imagination," he said. "This is evidence." Friday came fast. As they prepared to leave, Lily stopped at the door. "Mama," she asked softly, "do I need to count today?" Martha knelt despite the pain. "No, baby." Lily nodded. "Okay, then I'll remember." And as they rode toward town, Caleb knew the truth was no longer alone. It had witnesses now. The courthouse was already full when they arrived. Caleb noticed it before he even tied the reins. Too many horses. Too many voices pressed low and urgent. Copper Ridge didn't gather like this unless something was breaking. Martha hesitated at the door. Her arm throbbed. Her ribs still burned when she breathed too deep. But worse than the pain was a memory. The weight of Thomas's eyes on her. The way her body had learned to shrink before her mind could object. Caleb didn't rush her. Lily took her hand instead. "We go together," Lily said. They went in. Thomas Carter sat in the front row, clean and composed, his lawyer beside him. He looked like a man wronged by chaos rather than the cause of it. When his eyes met Martha's, something flickered. Ownership, not love. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Everyone sat. "This court will hear the matter of Carter versus Carter," the judge said. "Petition for return of wife and child." Thomas's lawyer spoke first. Calm, polished, he spoke of concern, of confusion, of a fragile woman led astray by a lonely rancher with questionable intentions. Martha felt the room lean with him. Then the judge nodded. Mrs. Carter. Her legs shook when she stood. She opened the notebook. The sound of pages turning filled the room like thunder. March 2nd. Martha read. "Black eye. He said I embarrassed him at supper." Her voice cracked. She steadied it. "June 11th. Cracked rib. Lily hid under the bed." Someone inhaled sharply. She read on. Each date stripped another layer from the lie. Each word pressed the truth into the air where it could no longer be denied. She did not cry, not because she wasn't broken, but because she was done hiding it. When she finished, the room was silent. The judge looked at Lily. "Child, do you understand what your mother said?" Lily nodded. She stepped forward without fear. "I count," she said simply. "I counted because it was the only thing I could do. How many times did your father hit your mother on June 11th? Lily didn't hesitate. 7. The number landed harder than any scream. Thomas stood suddenly. "She's been coached." The judge raised a hand. "Sit down." Then voices rose. One woman, then another. "I saw her bruises. I heard the crying. I should have spoken sooner." The town shifted, not loudly, not dramatically, but permanently. Thomas's mask cracked. His mouth opened, closed. The room no longer belonged to him. The judge spoke slowly. "This court denies the petition. Protective custody is granted. Further investigation is ordered." Martha swayed. Caleb was there. Outside, sunlight hit her face like something new. "It's over," Lily said. Martha looked at her daughter, really looked, and felt something unfamiliar spread through her chest. Safety, not borrowed, not temporary. Real. Caleb stood beside them, silent as always, but the silence no longer meant absence. It meant staying. The ride back from town was quiet, not the heavy, frightened silence before, but the strange, hollow quiet that follows something ending. Martha sat stiffly in the wagon. Lily leaned against her side, and Caleb kept the reins steady, his eyes on the road like he was guiding them across unfamiliar ground. Because that's what freedom felt like. Unfamiliar. Martha kept waiting for her chest to tighten, for the old fear to return. It didn't. Instead, there was an emptiness where fear had lived for so long, a space that didn't yet know what to become. At the ranch, Lily jumped down first. She ran toward the porch, then stopped and turned back. "Mr. Caleb?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am." Is it okay if I laugh now? The question nearly undid him. I reckon it is. She laughed then, loud and sudden and full-bodied. The sound startled birds from a fence line and echoed through the cabin that had known only silence for years. Martha covered her mouth, tears spilling freely now that no one was counting them against her. That night, the town responded, not all kindly. A note appeared on the fence. Homewrecker. A jar shattered against the barn wall. But there were other signs, too. A basket of bread on the porch. A sack of flour left by the gate. Quiet offerings from people who were ashamed. But learning, Martha stood at the window, watching Caleb mend the broken rail. They'll never fully forgive me, she said. Caleb didn't look up. You didn't ask them to. She smiled at that. Later, after Lily fell asleep curled around a cloth doll Caleb had carved from scrap wood, Martha joined him on the porch. I don't know who I am now, she admitted. I was his wife. Then I was his victim. Now, I'm just here. Caleb leaned back in his chair. Here's a start. She studied him, the man who had stood between her and the world without ever asking her to hide behind him. I don't need protecting anymore, she said carefully. He nodded. I know, but I like company. The words were small, honest. Caleb considered them like a man touching fire after a long winter. I'm not good at fixing what's broken, he said. Martha met his eyes. Neither am I. Maybe we don't fix. Maybe we build. The wind moved through the grass. The ranch breathed. In town, Thomas Carter sat alone in his house, stripped of his audience, his power reduced to paper and whispers. He would never touch them again, not because of fear, but because he had been seen. And being seen was the one thing men like him could not survive. Inside the cabin, Lily slept without counting. That was how Caleb knew it was real. The first winter came early. Frost crept across the fields like a quiet promise, and the ranch changed its colors, brown to silver, dust to stillness. Caleb rose before dawn every morning, not out of habit, but out of purpose. There was more to tend now, not just land and animals, but people. Martha learned the rhythms of the place slowly. Healing took time. Some mornings her arm ached so badly she could barely lift a cup. Some nights she woke breathless, certain she heard Thomas's boots on the porch. But every time she found the same truth. The door stayed shut. The porch stayed empty. Caleb stayed near. Lily changed the most. She stopped flinching at loud sounds. She stopped scanning rooms for exits. She stopped counting. Instead, she learned the names of birds. She learned how to braid rope and how to read clouds. She laughed easily now, and when she slept, her fists were no longer clenched. One evening, as the fire cracked low, Lily looked up from the floor where she was drawing. Mama, she said, I forgot how many days it's been. Martha froze. Then she smiled, the kind of smile that comes from deep places. That's all right, baby, she said. We don't need numbers for good days. Caleb watched from his chair, the light from the fire catching the lines of his face. He felt something settle inside him. Not grief leaving, but grief changing shape. Eleanor's memory no longer hurt like an open wound. It lived now like a scar, proof of love, not loss. That night, Martha joined him on the porch. I got a letter today, she said quietly. Caleb turned. From him? No, from the court. She exhaled. It's final. He nodded once. How do you feel? She searched for the word. Unafraid. Silence stretched, but wasn't empty. I won't stay out of fear anymore, Martha continued. And I won't leave out of it either. Caleb met her eyes. Then stay because you choose to. She did. Spring came soft and sure. Martha planted flowers beneath the window where sunlight lingered longest. Lily helped, pressing seeds into the earth with careful fingers. Caleb built a second chair for the porch, not because it was needed, but because it belonged there. One afternoon, Lily stood between them, holding both their hands. This is my family, she announced. Neither adult corrected her. Years later, people would say they remember the night a barefoot child ran to a ranch and changed everything. They would say a giant man finally spoke. They would say a woman stood up. They would say a town learned to see. But Lily would remember something else. A place where she stopped counting. A place where the dark didn't win. A place that felt like tomorrow. And that was enough.